carriers, brokers, and dispatchers. You're tuned into the E-Carrier Check channel, where we bring you the insider tips, tricks, and insights to drive your sales and logistics business to new heights. Each week, your hosts, Jared and Nate, sit down with the top professionals in the industry, diving deep into everything from prospecting and cold calling to maintaining carrier relationships and maximizing your bottom line. Learn real-world strategies, hear success stories, and get actionable advice you can implement in your business today. So buckle up and get ready for an entertaining and informative ride. This is the E-Carrier Check channel, your source for can't-miss logistics intelligence. Stay tuned.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to the E-Carrier Check Show. Jared and Nate here. We brought back the legendary Nick Klingensmith for today's show because today we're talking about some pretty important stuff. But before we jump into Nick and what's been going on in his world, Jared, how's your week been, man? I know we're in Nebraska. For those of you that don't know, we're sitting at negative 10 degrees today. Power's been going in and out, so if we drop off, I apologize. We'll probably have to tune in Friday, but negative 10 degrees. We're making it through. But how's your week been?
The snow has been ridiculous. It's just been, I guess we live in the area, you know what I mean? I can't say enough. I'm super jacked for this conversation. You know, one of my favorite things about Nick is just the level that he brings. But I mean, honestly, you know, Quitter's Day was a month ago, right? And we got Nick on. We're a month into, 45 days into the year. Now what, right? How the goal's going. What do you do? It almost seems like sometimes you just get hit in the stomach, and then how do you react? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so we're bringing Nick on to find out what do we do today, right now, to change the rest of this quarter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because we got only about 45 days left in this quarter now. You know what I mean? Right. So, Nick, welcome to the show, brother. How you been, man?
Dude, I'm better now. I'm sitting here for 3.5 minutes, and my whole world is just like exploded with awesomeness. So thank you. Dude, this one is so relevant for me. And let me just a little bit of background for those who don't know, but I've got now almost 20 years in this business, and most of it in sales leadership. So I know a thing or two about being behind on goals. Also as an obstacle course racer and endurance racer, I'm not David Goggins. I always put a date on the calendar. I don't have a goal with every race that I do. A lot of times it just might be for experience, but I do have goals, and I set big goals, lofty goals. Sometimes it's completing like that mountain race I keep talking about, but sometimes it's about actually making a certain amount of time. And so that has to do with your training. And I'm going to equate this to sales a lot because it's the daily activities that achieve goals. And it's no different than whether it be somebody trying to achieve their sales goals or a fitness goal or something like that. And so the hardest thing to do is when you're off goal, like say right now from someone who either hasn't started, if we're talking about a personal goal, like if that's you, by the way, please message me after. I'm going to give you 3 really stupid steps to start your shit. I'm going to make it so dumb that you actually will be unable to not take the first step. So if that's you, if you can't get started, just hit me up offline now. Okay. But let's talk about, make this relevant for like sales goals or even in a fitness goal, right? A numeric, like yes or no type goal. The first thing we actually have to accept is what I just said a minute ago. It is your daily activities that achieve goals. So if you're off your goals, there is only one reason. Your daily activity is off. It doesn't mean that you're not working hard enough. You might be working on the wrong things. We may need to pivot in a lot of ways, but we waste so much time on excuses and fault and blame and resisting the fact that we're off, right? I even do this from time to time. I remember in logistics, my last, like around 21, when the market really started to go the other way too, or 22, when the market really started so dumb a potato can do it, to go the other way. I would see the negative echo chamber on LinkedIn and get relieved. But then I'm like, wait a minute. How does that hit my goal? If the market sucks, what does that have to do with me? I am the problem. So number one, we just have to accept that it is because our activities are off. I took notes.
Yeah, this is good too because, well, first off, I got to give some shout outs here. DIY, Chief Ray Holler, T. Landy, Zach's here. Zach thinks you're the go, by the way. And Robert, what's up, guys? Thanks for being here. But when we meet with these brokers, Nick, Jared's first question is, hey, tell me your goals. And, their goals go from, I need 2 to 5 shippers and trying to build, relationships with 20 carriers. But they never talk about their daily goals, what they're going to do to get to that. So I'm really excited to talk this with you.
Well, actually, that's and I'm glad you bring that. So we'll talk about that one. We'll talk about that one in just a moment here, because the next one actually, it starts with the mindset shift to begin with, because if you're the only person who can impact it. By the way, the number one reason too that I've just kind of left out is when the goal is given to them and they don't feel a connection to it, and they use that as an excuse to not pursue it. Now hold on to that thought. Because number 2 is ownership. Once again, it's your activities that aren't working. You have to understand that. It doesn't mean you're doing it doesn't mean bad things. But it could be that maybe you aren't working hard enough. Or what I find myself doing sometimes too? I work too hard. When I don't know what else to do, I just grind. I just send out messages for days until my keyboard's falling apart. But that's not the right activity. You also make sure that you're moving the ball forward on things. If you're only looking at big accounts, if you're only doing RFPs, if the things that you're not doing aren't working, you have to do something different, which leads us to going back a second to number 3. And a lot of people would think that I would have talked about this as number 1, but remember your why. And this kind of is what I just talked about. Maybe I'm making a number up here. Maybe the $10,000 a week wasn't your goal. It was given to you. Well, why are you there? Why are you actually working there? It's not about the money. It's about what the money does and provides. It's what about the career provides for you. How does this help support you in your goal and your endeavor somehow? And not for nothing, if the boss wants more for you than you want for yourself, get an easier job. Get out of this. Seriously, go book appointments somewhere. You don't need to work that hard if you don't even want that much. But when we remember why we're doing what we're doing, and then we reframe the goal. And again, so it's we're 8 weeks in. If my goal is 520,000, $10,000 a week, 520,000. Yes. If my goal is 520,000, that number hasn't changed. So now we can look at the levers. And you guys talk about this a lot. I call them levers when I'm talking about account size, right? Maybe I need to go after smaller accounts. Maybe I need to go after bigger accounts. Maybe I need to niche down to find the one customer. Maybe I need to be charging more money. Maybe I need to lower my rates to drive volume. What is it that out of so many different levers, what industry is not working for me so I can move faster? One of the reasons why so many people miss goal is because they're hanging on to the what ifs. Yeah, but what if that one customer starts booking a lot of money? But what if they get really big? And what if this? And what if some other miracle happens and a building grows out of the ground and says, hey, we want you to handle our shipping? Come on. So it's those 20% that stop us from moving on. Let go of that stuff. Decide what's not working. And just because it works from time to time, just walk across the street and buy a lottery ticket. You have a better chance of winning doing that. Let's focus on the right activities. Kind of like we were talking about just before the show. I am again refocusing my activity. I'm constantly learning what I do in the sales process of what I do. So the more experience I get, I make the target market smaller. I don't make it bigger because I know who I'm going to be most effective to. There's 23,000 or so people in my LinkedIn network. 1% of that is 230.
Yep.
There are not 130 people that are going to hire me this year. So I don't even need to reach the 1%. I need to identify the fraction of a percent that is going to make me, because then I don't need 50 accounts. I might need 5. I might need 1. We're not that far off our mark. We just need to change something to help us move faster. And then lastly, just relentlessly execute and keep evaluating.
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's interesting if you don't measure, you can't grow off something you don't measure, right? If you're just going about your day and you just kind of, that's the problem with a little bit of this industry, is that we just all react all day. And, in some particular cases, I love how you say this, because I really think being intentional with your time is probably more important than anything that we could do in order to move the needle. How do people start to be more intentional with their time? What is it that they could do on a day-to-day basis to be more intentional?
If I can segue for a second, I'm going to combine a couple issues here, because Chief Freighthaler mentioned something about the down market, right? And Nate and I earlier were also talking about how so many people were in survival mode, and so many people continue to be in survival mode, when in fact the circumstances have changed around them, but their mentality is that they're still in survival mode. If you talk to so many people, you know what? How many times, I'm sure you don't remember, you talk to people all the time, but if we look back at the various times I've been on this show, I probably answered something similar every single time. Grinding away, that survival mode. Yep. Just staying ahead, like one, day in a dollar, whatever. Like, oh, I'm just working so hard. I'm putting out fires. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. That's survival mode. That's a reactive way that we're in. We are literally just fighting for our life. And there are situations and things that occurred to put us in there that disrupted our plan, disrupted our lives. Now we have to react to something different. But that was then. Things do begin to change, and then your mindset needs something to drag it out of it, so you're not living in survival mode anymore. If you noticed before the show, I didn't say I'm just surviving, plugging away, grinding, looking for the next $1.50. I said, like, hey, this is my intentional strategic plan. So accepting that you are in survival mode, number one, and that it's not the world, it's you. That's the most important part. From there, it does take a moment, and I'm going to answer the question about intention in just a second. But before that, you then take a hard look at yourself. This is where we actually got to write it down. Because again, this is a real response to real life events. Things happen to you.
Yeah.
But are they still happening? And how big are they? And that's why it's important to put these things in perspective now, and even just say some things aren't that important. Let go of that 0.03% of something that's just not going to serve you, and free up just enough space in the noggin. And here's the one that's going to sound not like the others. If you want to be intentional, set a really big goal. A really big goal. And I'm guessing that probably 90% of the people who are listening right now would probably say, oh, but I don't have time for that. That's why because you're already feeling overwhelmed. That's part of survival mode. You feel like you can't breathe. Like, I don't have time for anything. That's why you need to do it. You need to set a goal that is more important than the bullshit spinning between your head. Literally, something that takes you 2 hours a day. Join a club, go fundraise for something. When I said yes to the American Cancer Society last October to fundraise for Men Wear Pink, the cause was very near and dear to me, but I was in survival mode, and I almost said no. And I'm like, you know what? I need this. Like, I actually need this. I need something that I don't have time for that has a greater cause than my day-to-day bullshit. And I don't even remember what it was that was spinning around my head, making me think that I couldn't do it. So find something more important. Pick a big why that's more important than the why nots. You would not believe how quickly that other stuff goes away. I talk about it in my book, my defining moment, where I said I will not be defined by my circumstances, but my triumph over them. That was a defining moment where literally I said, okay, I'm doing this now. And I start just setting big goals. You do things that are more important. If all of a sudden you had to pick up a second job that's like 4 to 5 hours a day, believe it or not, you probably find out you could manage some of it and you're not going to miss the wasted time. So once we do that, though, and set that big goal, rather than just add to the overwhelming stress because of analysis paralysis, that's when we do have to break it down to the wildly specific and stupidly simple action steps. So dumb, a Pedro potato could do it. Like, I was on You know what I mean? I don't know if I see Cleary popped in. One of the things we worked on together is, the wildly specific and stupidly simple action step that got him to get his podcast started was simply texting his co-host. A text. That was the first step. Text your buddy and say, "Hey, I want to talk about the pod." That was it. A guy that I'm working with right now, working on some messaging, and 2 weeks had gone by and he hadn't done it. I'm like, okay, well, hey, do me a favor. When do you have 15 minutes this week? He's like, today at noon. I was like, okay, at 12:15, you're going to text me and tell me it's done. Because schedule it, Google it, or just do it right now. Like, find the so stupid that you actually feel like silly writing it down.
Not being a mental midget.
I haven't heard that terminology.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either. I do. Yeah. Nick, something that I when I read in your book, there's the why me syndrome. And I think a lot of people are doing that. People have that why me syndrome right now because we're 8 weeks in and everything you just explained, they maybe had it was all going good. And then now we're like, oh, why me? Why did I quit? Why did I quit doing my daily tasks to get to my goal? So I think a lot of people are really in that why me syndrome right now in that state. It's tough to get out of, you know what I mean? It is super tough to get out of. I feel like people just need to understand, like, if you had a bad 8 weeks or maybe you just kind of fell off on your goals, it's okay to start over. And people struggle with starting over. I'm one of them. My goal was to go to the gym every day this whole year. And I missed 2 weeks and I'm like laying in bed, like, why me? But you know what I did the next day? I got up and I went again and it started getting into that, that momentum, that consistency. So
have either of you guys done 75 hard?
I know a couple of brokers that have, but I have not personally.
No,
I haven't either. And honestly, I don't know why, because I've lived most of it anyways. And I need the discipline. I actually do need a little bit more intention. It's, I work from home, right? Like and I also believe a lot of the things I do intertwine with my work. And so, but it's easy to get unfocused about what's most important from a business standpoint. So honestly, me adding some wrenches to my life would probably make me more productive, because then you're forced to be disciplined in those pockets. But it's silly because, like, I do easily 2 45-minute workouts a day. But the second one, they're supposed to be together. Instead, I do like 15 minutes here, a 30-minute stretch and something like that. And I get how that works in a certain routine, but at the same time, I know that I feel hurried. When I go walk into the garage to go walk backwards on the treadmill for 10 minutes or do a stretch on the TRX band for 10 minutes in the middle of the afternoon, and I shouldn't feel this way, but, I've been working as a W-2 my entire adult life. And so when it's 3:00 in the afternoon, I'm like, I should be at my desk. So it's creating a little bit more anxiety for me. Maybe if I were to create that discipline and just do it in a 45-minute session later altogether, maybe I wouldn't have that. I don't know. But I just know, and the only one way to do it is to find out, because the why me syndrome, I'm injured as crap right now. I had so many big ambitions for the first quarter of this year. I haven't been running like at all. And then I'm rehabbing something and I tweak something else. Like, I'm Humpty Dumpty with like the neighbor's dog is just like ripping me apart. So it's so easy to just say the why me, because I am disappointed. I was supposed to run the Spartan Deca Fit competition last weekend. I didn't even go. I had really big ambitions for the Spartan race, super and sprint up in Jacksonville in a week and a half from now. I'm probably going to run in the open division, not even in the competitive. Oh, well. So I accept that this is where I'm at. Saying why me is just going to take more time. It's just going to waste time. I'm just going to lie around. My goal is still the goal. My higher goal is still the goal. It's not just about one race. It's what doing that and achieving that in a race, means for me and what I'm trying to represent by it. And so even though, I picked dates on the calendar, the date on the calendar isn't what's going to define it. Part of the struggle is what's going to have to get me there. Anyways, I mean, I would have never written a book if I didn't have like things to overcome. Like I joked before the show, just, it's all part of the next story.
Yeah, that's so true.
Road.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't want to go through that struggle, but that struggle really is what pushes us to get to where we want to be.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go through the struggle. I don't want to go through the struggle. Like, come on, I wish I had all sunshines and rainbows every day too, but The fact is, like, just resisting the struggle, resisting that is life, that's what it is, and thinking that we're targeted or it's unfair, like, it's just life. It's just a waste of the mental energy. And it's all right. I'm not saying ignore the suck. Embracing the suck doesn't mean ignoring it. You should process it. You should realize what's going on. It's your life. I can't decide someone else's perspective. I'm not happy when these things happen to me either. So, but I might be pissed off or might wallow in my misery for a day, sometimes two. And then I'm like, all right, what's next?
Yeah. You said something earlier that I want to bring back for just a sec, because I this is really what helps me with, when you were talking about fundraising for the American Cancer Society. Honestly, I do find that when I help others, when I go out for a bigger cause, or when I go out and try to help other people get their goals, boy, that really just allows me to reset my mind. My mind spins pretty consistently all day. It's like the damn core of the earth. It's just a friggin' hot potato. And so helping people really helps me with getting clarity, and just really going, okay, now I've seen this, let's go, and boy, I think that's so important. I don't know how many people have the opportunity to actually help people because you're a driver in a car, or you're sitting at home by yourself because you're an agent, or you're selling software, whatever it is. Most people don't work with people, which is kind of an interesting avenue nowadays. What do you do when you don't have anybody around? I have my wife, I have Nate. These people are right there, right in front of me all day, and they're going, "Hey, you're doing a great job. Give yourself some grace, and let's keep going." What do you do when there's nobody around?
Here's how. Jerome, we're going to try to talk about this, but also I want you to feel free to please message me directly after the show. I'd love to answer that question in more detail. Right there, Jared. That's how you do it. You help others. You look for opportunities to help others. You know what? Like, I write about this in my book a little bit. Like, it doesn't always have to be so dramatic. And first of all, there is nothing in the world more powerful than helping others. If you want to get out of your own head, go help someone else. Driving home from a meeting one day, I see some old guy trying to lift a big AC box into the back of his car. I pulled over and helped the guy. One guy got stuck. I bragged about this on LinkedIn because it was kind of fun, because I pushed a car out of a massive puddle by myself. But dude, there was another story. Anyways, social media, right, is a great way, and here's why. We make fun of people who put things out there for attention and validation. Give it to them. Go do something for someone else. Go like their post. Don't get out of your own head. Use it like I use social media for me. Go be about someone else for a second. You have all the people at the fingertips who just want to know they're being heard sometimes. Sometimes just liking someone else's stuff or focusing on commenting instead of posting just help somebody, or reach out directly, call somebody, and it like compliment somebody, donate to something. Instead of thinking, how can I make a sale today? Say, who can I find a referral for today? These missions come out of anywhere. Share a piece of information, listen to a podcast and then learn something from it. And then spend the whole day looking for one person to share that valuable piece of information to. You know why it's so important? Because I'm just making this shit up as I go along, and I can talk for the next 10 minutes on it. And you know what you don't think about when you're thinking about that? Yourself. You don't think about your problems, and you don't think about the things that are wrong and the stress you're under. And it is so powerful. And I'll tell you what, man, it is a self-renewing energy, because when you give that, it just keeps coming back. You feel confident. You feel stronger. You feel like have a purpose in the world. The dumbest thing is helping an old guy put something in the back of his car, and sometimes that only lasts for 5 minutes. Sometimes it lasts for a while, but who cares? It's an amazing way to hit reset. And you don't know what's going to come out of it. You honestly don't know what you'll discover in the process.
Yeah. I also think something that helps me quite a bit, and I thought Chief Freight Hauler mentioned this earlier in the notes. I love this. He said he listened to his wife, but that's not the most important part here. He said, she said, write them down.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about writing your ambitions down. I'm not talking about just a damn checklist or something you need to get do. Not a to-do list. This isn't honey-do day. I think it's important to write down your goals and get to where you want to go. And there's something to be said about that power of writing stuff down.
The goals and then
I love that.
Oh, heck yeah.
Goes with me. My goals for the year go in there, and all I read about it in the book, the little check marks and things that I do every single day. This is the book for the year. So I check off every day, my blood sugars every single day. Boom. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? And kind of looking through those different things. So, Jerome mentioned, how do you get out of mindset of being complacent and lazy? This is going to sound dumb, but you just decide to. But really what I mean by that is we have to just find something that you actually care about, that you want to go achieve. Yeah. It's mindset through achievement. It's not that you're lazy per se. It might be because, there's somebody watching the show right now who would clearly describe himself as being complacent and lazy, even though with some of the work we've done together, he's achieved a hell of a lot and he's doing a lot, like checking a lot of boxes, but he still would probably describe himself being complacent and lazy. I'm never complacent, but I can be really lazy. And I don't know if lazy necessarily has to be a bad thing if it's intentional. Like, we need rest. So really, where's the why? What are you working for? Going to work is never the purpose. And that's why, if you're not connected to it, if you don't understand how your job is providing you with the financial resources to do the things that you want, or the experiences and knowledge that will help you, or relationships. I mean, how many people said and love their jobs and places, and they're like, oh yeah, I love the people here too much to ever leave. Like, they're so happy because that's what they get from that, is relationships and opportunities. So there's a lot of ways that you can find a connection to why you're doing what you're doing, and then set aside time to be lazy. Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong. Yeah. I mean, dude, my wife and I watched the last 12 episodes or whatever of Cobra Kai on Saturday.
I get it.
Love that.
I get
it. This is huge. A lot of people don't do this, and I think they should. That highlight when you accomplish a goal. That way I can reread them, and it's a quick pick-me-up during a tough day. 100%.
Yeah.
We are so focused on the negatives that we don't ever focus on what I did today, that I achieved. Yeah. If it's a little things. Maybe you got up on
That's actually really big for getting out of survival mode too. Is you do have to see the achievement. You have to feel that progress.
100%.
Yeah, celebrating small wins is something that my family and I are really, we built a house a few years ago, and I always feel like, well, we don't have all the landscaping done, or we don't have all the pictures hung and all this. And so I've told my kids, I'm like, all right, we're celebrating small wins, and whether that's me hanging a picture, which I am not a handy guy. I'm a hire out kind of guy.
You hung all these pictures up. It looks great.
Whatever. But that's so good. I just like the Jordan. But, I think celebrating small wins, I love the highlight concept, because you can focus more on the negative days versus the positive days. Sure. So those small wins, hey, I'll take it.
When my wife came home the other day, I didn't even let her put her bag down before I dragged her around the corner and be like, look what I hung on the wall today. So I'm with you.
Yeah, absolutely. My daughter,
I was like, you can't even see the other holes.
Exactly. That's so good. I honestly, even my daughter pulled me in the other day. She's like, Dad, look how clean my room is. I just cleaned it. And she was so proud of it. And I was like, what a win.
Yes.
And you just celebrated that little win. It's just interesting to celebrate small wins, no matter what they are.
Yeah.
So,
mental toughness is, it's hard. It's hard some days. You have those bad days. It's just hard to push through, and you just got to keep pushing. Especially in this industry, man, it is super stressful. I met with the broker yesterday, and he was telling me how stressful he is. And he's always grinding. He's working literally 24/7. And I just, I feel like he just needed a hug and just say, hey, man, you're doing a great job. Keep killing it, right? That's what people just need to hear some days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Freight Master Resource. Yeah, I take the big goals and I break it down all the way down to the whatever needs to happen in this moment today. And so, I set really big numeric goals for how much money I want to make this year. And so I have to break that down to how do I plan on making it? Because otherwise it's just a guess. And then what are the activities that will help me to achieve that? And so as I was telling you, I'm kind of focused on a specific campaign for keynotes and virtual sessions within the industry. I know people, I hate being told how many calls I have to make a day. Well, that's how you get rich. So, so, um, so I know exactly how many messages I want to send out today and how many calls I want to make. Now, I don't know if it's the right number because, again, I'm learning my own business here, right? So, but I'm breaking down a good 6-figure earnings that I want to make, and I'm breaking it down to the number of messages I need to type today. That's about as silly as it gets. And you know what happened before I could send the messages? I had to write the message, which I scheduled to do. So that's I break it down to the stupid, and now it just becomes part of the process.
Yeah.
God, I love that.
Yeah.
Close
Yeah, Nick, did we get everything on your list today? I know you are full of information today, man. Honestly, I didn't even feel like we were on a YouTube show. I just felt like I was at a conference listening to you speak. And honestly, this is what I needed. Exactly. This is what I needed personally. I don't know about everyone else, but I needed this. We're halfway through the week. This is going to help me push through the rest of the week. And, I just can't thank you enough, man. Is there, like I said, did we get everything on your list that you kind of want to discuss today?
Yeah, man, I think it was great when you reached out the other day. It's always good timing because I can always basically just say what's on my mind and what I'm going through, and it usually is very relevant for other people. So,
yeah. Well, give us a breakdown of how people can reach you. And make sure you shout out your book. I got your book here for you.
Absolutely, and I will say that the thing I am looking to do is I am looking to speak more in the industry. So whether it be at conferences, specifically to companies, and a product that I'll be introducing, a product, if you will, for sales teams, especially remote sales teams in the industry, or virtual presentations. And that's really where my focus is going to be. So if you are interested in talking to me about that, it's nick@stridemotivation.com. Check out the website, stridemotivation.com. And also you can see, Selling Inspired is a core. It's got a lot of the core principles that not only do I talk about in speeches, but that I work with people one-on-one in coaching. So you can find that book on Amazon or hit me up directly if you want a signed copy.
Yeah, I love it, Nick. Thanks again, man. Thanks to everyone being here. Make sure you reach out to Nick, man. Yeah. He's opening up and he's ready for you guys. So hit him up, connect with him. Nick, thanks again, man. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy that warm weather. We're going to go enjoy the negative 10 degree. So
there's no civilization there.
Going to Matt's this year. Nick, are you going to Matt's?
I am not. I will be at BCS, and that's the only one I got scheduled so far.
Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good.